Hi, everyone. This is Bill Holton from Field Trial Central, and this is Field Trial Central Live. Tonight, we are lucky to be joined by Quintin Wiseman. Quentin is hailing from Georgia these days, originally a Montanan. So I don't know how he got lucky enough to get all the way down to the warm weather from way up here north. But this time of year, he probably wishes he was up north. Quentin, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having us, Bill. Thanks for reaching out to find out more about this Derby Invitational that we got going on.
Yeah, that's kind of what we're here to talk about tonight. The last year was the first year of the I guess it's called the United States Amateur All Age Derby Invitational.
Yep.
It's the brainchild of Quentin and his wife, and they put all the work in to have a great season last year. Tell us a little bit. Let's kind of just jump right into that. Tell us how that came about and what happened.
Okay. Well, I guess how it kind of came about was, we love the field trial. We love to go visit with people and see people. And we love to watch good dogs. And Mo and I, we've been horse people our entire lives as well. So it just kind of goes hand in hand. Well, all age dog we had, pretty promising all age dog. He got crippled, and we had 4 derbies to run. So we still wanted the field trial, but we only had derbies. I mean, and we were going up and down the road everywhere, and mostly that Region 6 Mid-South area. We like going up in that country, and we're running these derbies every single weekend. And I mean, after like the first weekend, 2 or 3 of them were qualified already. So, but we just kept going and kept going and kept going, and we were driving back one night from Hale Creek or somewhere up there, and it was late. We had to get home, and when my wife and I were visiting, and I said, "What? This makes no sense to us at all." So here we are. We got 4 derbies now that are all qualified to run championships. I said, "Yet we're still going up and down the road to run these 30-minute derby stakes." And so we got talking about it. We thought there's got to be some incentive for people to run these derby stakes, and likewise, it would really help some of these clubs, to build up their derbies numbers and stuff, because I mean, let's just face it, after about December, towards the first of the year, your derby numbers just go downhill. A lot of them don't make it; they wash out for whatever reason. People quit running them. Well, then you get to these spring, wintertime and springtime derby stakes, and I'll put it to you this way: after we compiled we had 51 trials last year for points, and they had a nationwide average of 9 derbies per amateur stake that was qualified, that we were using for a points trial. So, and earlier in the year, that average was 13.
Okay.
So, I mean, we lost an average of 4 per trial. So anyway, we got talking about it, and I said, well, the only kind of incentive we would actually have is if there was like an amateur derby invitational. So we started talking about that, and being from out west and born, just bird hunting, I didn't know what a field trial was until I moved to Georgia. Never even heard of the thing before. Never heard of a pen raised bird. Nothing. So the idea was I have friends out west. Rich Heaton from Idaho. I don't know if you know Rich or not.
Yeah.
But Rich and I have been friends for years, and Doug Favor, another field trialer from Mountain, Idaho. We were visiting one day, and I asked those guys about the all-age invitational, and they said, shoot, they said, we just don't have the opportunity. They said we could win absolutely every point stake we have in the West and still not have enough points to qualify for the all-age invitational. Well, that's what really got me thinking about how we could do this to make the entire United States more involved. So that's when we come up with the idea that we would break it up into 3 different regions. We have a West region, a Central region, and an East region. And we drew a map, and it was pretty much geographically correct, we thought, as far as derby numbers would go, and get the support we would need. Well, what we did, we took top 4 points winners from each region. And like last year, say the first Derby Invitational we had last year, we held it up there at West Tennessee and Field Trial Club up there. Great bunch of guys. But anyways, we were short 3 entries from the West. We had them, but we had to move the trial because of COVID, and we had to also move it to try to get off of the Region 4 championship. But so when we moved it that additional week, we lost 2 of the entries from out West. The guy's daughter was getting married, and him and his partner just couldn't make it. So what we do then, in a case like that, if each region doesn't fill the 4 top spots, it just goes down to the highest points, in the nation. Doesn't depend on what region it comes from. And we still get our 12 that way. And we still got 12 dogs. But that's how the whole thing come about, when we got talking about it, like her and I just kept talking about it. Well, finally I went to the Region 4 championship up in Illinois, and I was sitting there having a cocktail with Todd Babel and Jay Lewis one evening. And I know those guys have had a lot of success, in their areas and stuff, and they know everybody. And it was just us 3 sitting there at the table, and I threw this idea at them. And I said, well, do you think this would work? And they're like, I already had it all thought out pretty much, and I throw it at them, and they're like, I think it will work. The biggest thing is kicking it off and getting the right kind of sponsors to make the thing go. Everybody knows invitationals lose money. So that's kind of how it come about, and geographically we wanted some committee members, like we wanted somebody from the Hoffman area. Well, I'm a good friend with Whitley Stevenson, so that just made sense. He's an active field trialer owner, handler out there at the Hoffman area. So he stepped on board with us. He liked the idea. And then Rich Heaton out west, and then Jay and Todd in the central. And that number we had, with 5 members like that gave us a good odd number as well. So when it come to a disagreement, if we needed to vote on something, we always had that tiebreaker vote,
Yep.
This thing is not run by any one person, and those guys have helped me, tremendously. They have helped us spearhead this thing with ideas, because they've been field trialing way longer than I have, and so they had a lot of ideas, and we kicked this thing around for a whole solid year between the 5 of us, and it didn't even really get out. It didn't leak until we thought we had a pretty good idea on how we wanted to handle it.
Yeah, super. Sounds well thought out. I think the idea of getting participation from all 3 regions is really important. It's because the end goal, it seems to me, was to keep Derby participation going throughout the entire year, throughout the whole country. So if I'm a guy in the West, and I see pretty early there's no chance I'm going to the Derby Invitational. I just can't get to enough field trials. Then I'm going to be like I am every other year, right? I'm going to get my dog qualified. I'm going to run maybe running another trial or 2, and then I'm done. We're going to wait till the next year. So I think that was very. I think that's important.
And the thing of it was, Bill, was throughout this first season, I couldn't really get an idea of how it was being grasped. I had a lot of field trial guys asking me, a lot of questions about it and this and that. It was kind of funny though. Towards the end of the season, our point season, I got some phone calls. I started getting a lot of phone calls about guys asking, "Hey, you had a chance to figure out how many points I got, and how many points you think it's going to make to make the Invitational and all of this." And of course, nobody really knew how many points it was going to take because none of us had ever done this before.
Right.
So, and I told my wife, I said, these guys have been pretty coy. I said, because they know they got points now, and we got some great prizes, and we had a great idea going, and now they're calling. Now they're calling to see how close they are and see if they're going to make it or not. And that meant a lot. That meant that these people really actually were paying attention to it. You know what I mean? And,
Yep.
So, but it was a great first year. The biggest thing was we came up with the idea of a super qualifier. We're calling them a super qualifier, and what that is, Bill, is each region gets to host one super qualifying Derby stake Now, the difference between that Derby stake and any other one is this stake is a 45-minute stake. And it has bonus points attached to it. 25 points to win and on top of the points per entry. So people think, well, 25 points, that's not a lot. But I mean, when you look at the nationwide average last year of 9 dogs, you take nine entries times 3 points for first place. That's 27 points to win a field trial. Well, basically by winning the super qualifier, they actually just in sense won a whole nother first place in the trial. So it ended up in a big hurry, but yet we thought that out as well, and it didn't. The 25 bonus points wasn't so much that Bill Holton's going to come to one trial this year, the super qualifier, and win it, and he's just going to be automatically in. You know what I mean? That still made Bill go to trials. So we had to think of a way to make it worth it, but yet not just give it to him too.
Yeah. So, and the other thing about the super qualifiers, if I remember right, now you had some awful nice prizes at the super qualifiers too.
Saddles. Yep.
Saddles. So if I'm going to run for a saddle, that does another thing, right? It very possibly makes a larger entry at that 45-minute stake. And I think most, if you're running an all age dog, the chance to run in a 45-minute Derby stake, is way more enticing than a 30-minute Derby stake, and that's
absolutely. And and the thing of it is too is a lot of these derbies, a 30-minute Derby stake. I love a Derby, and I love judging derbies. But the deal with the Derby is let's just face it. A lot of these derbies, they run out through there and they get pointed, and they have a good broke fine, and a lot of dogs don't. A lot of derbies don't. I think we really are trying to emphasize, back to original Derby standards. These dogs do not have to be plumb broke. I mean, there's so many good derbies out there that we feel we don't see anymore towards the end of the year because they don't have him quite polished enough. Because the way these Derby championships have been over the few years, if your dog wasn't broke by the first of the year, they wasn't going to use it.
Right.
Well, a funny story. This year, I got asked to judge the Carroll County Open All Age, and I judged the Derby there as well. And me and Lynn Oxendine from Missouri, great guy, great judging partner. We were right on board the entire trial. Well, we were judging the Derby stake, and matter of fact, what I'm fixing to tell you ended up being the winner of the Derby Invitational. Weldon Bennett was handling the dog, and he was braced with Ike Todd and a dog called Dancing Nancy's of Keith Wright's. They were braced together, and we were right up on this find, and Weldon's dog got a little happy, and when they went into flush, it was divided fine, and they went into flush. Weldon's dog made a big old jump in there, and then she froze. She stopped at the flush, and they fired the guns, and Weldon kind of stood there on the ground and looked at me, and Lynn and I just turned and rode off. And Weldon come over later, and he says, "Well, I appreciate that." He said, "I kind of figured I was going to get picked up right there," and I was like, "It's a Derby, Weldon." I said, "If you run under me," I said, "you're going to find out." And the dog ended up getting, I think, second place at that Derby stake. I mean, she did one whale of a job on the ground. Did a great job, and she had a little flaw in birth. I'm not the kind of judge that's going to not look at that Derby no more. I look at all of the positives. That's one little negative to me. Now, if it had been a championship, absolutely. Yeah, a championship, right. Dogs need to be finished, and that's what the committee, Todd, Jay, Rich, Whitley, and myself, that is what we have been trying to push. We've been trying to push that, a really good broke piece of Derby work may not just win that field trial if you got a dog that has everything else better that maybe has a little bobble. You know what I mean? But, when you judge them, it's all subjective anyway.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I applaud you for that. I think that, we all know when we're looking at derbies, we're looking for potential. what that dog did and that little piece of bird work had nothing to do with his or her potential in the long run, right? But what she did on the ground showed you the potential that dog has as an all age prospect.
Yeah.
At least that's the way I would guess it. The way you saw it.
Yeah, absolutely. And and then when the dog's handler Gary McKibben, when he was the owner of the dog, when he brought her to the Invitational up there this year, the first Invitational, she won it, and I mean, the dog did a fantastic job. And I'll tell you that the funny thing about it was that female had fines each day of the Invitational. They called her back, and she was braced with a top callback dog back. And she had fines every single day, and every one of her fines were rock solid broke. So, I mean, that just tells you that little bobble on that bird work earlier in the year, she went on to have fines in every brace of the Invitational, all broke, all perfect. I mean, that's what we're trying to push, Bill. We're trying to get back to the derbies that, don't wash them out if they got everything. Just work on that bird work a little more. You can still come a place. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And we're talking about, a couple months later, not 4 years later. Right. I mean, this is still just a young dog. Right.
Yeah. Well, they're supposed to be 4, aren't they? Derbies.
Yeah. That's right. Well, I mean, sometimes they are. Yeah. Well, tell me a little bit about this year's trial then, or this year's last Invitational. Let's talk about that trial itself. Happened middle to the end of March.
Yeah, it happened end of March. It was supposed to be a little earlier, but then COVID, I have a really good relationship. My wife and I do. Our number one favorite amateur field trial of the entire year is the West Tennessee Amateur All Age up there with the Curry Boys and the JP Hathcocks and the Crutchers. And I mean, that whole West Tennessee field trial club up there, the Blake Kukar and all of them. And I mean, we just absolutely love that place. So it was kind of a no-brainer this first year on where we wanted to have it. And I reached out to them, and they said that they'd be happy to host it. So that's what we did. We took it up there. And then when the whole COVID thing hit, there was field trials just canceling left and right and left and right. And I got a hold of Bill Curry and Alan Curry and them, and they said, no, man, come on, let's do it. So we went on up and we ran the trial, and we had, picture perfect weather. You couldn't ask for better weather up there. And in my opinion, what really set this field trial apart were the judges. I mean, when you pick judges for an event like this, especially the first time, you really, really got to think about, we're all amateurs. So if you're going to use a professional, does he have a connection with an amateur or with an amateur's dog? And if he does he have enough integrity to either not use the dog just because it's one of his owners, or use the dog just because it's one of his owners,
Right.
And I wanted somebody that was well respected and was actually kind of a hard ass as well, if you would. I mean, not take a bunch of guff from a bunch of hotshot amateurs, And so I reached out to my friend Steve Hurdle, and Steve said he'd be happy to come judge it. And then the next guy I got was Wallace Reichert. You know Wallace?
I do not know Wallace. I know Steve, but do not know Wallace.
Wallace is a dear friend of ours, and a really, really good judge, and knows a bird dog. He scouted like Editions Go Boy and all them for Mr. Freisen and Garland Pretty for all of them years. I mean, Wallace usually only judges about one big championship a year, but he obliged to come judge with Steve, and the two of those judges together was just a no-brainer on how successful this trial was going to be. I mean, they had it. I mean, I rode every single brace. I wasn't judging the trial, but I rode every single brace, and they had it absolutely picture perfect from the get-go, and everybody there's seen it. And when you're running a 3-day trial like that, them judges, they got to have enough experience to call back the right dogs. And they got to have enough experience to call them back, embrace them on what they've seen for a couple of days to exploit one or the other. And they did a fantastic job with it. Fantastic job. But the biggest thing was without Brad Kennedy and Sportsman's Pride, this whole thing wouldn't have happened.
Okay.
It just wouldn't have. Once this thing got kind of out in the open and was getting talked about a little bit, Brad and I visited at Hell Creek, and I just asked him. I said, Brad, I said, would you be interested in doing something like this? And he said, absolutely. He said, you bet. And he told me that he was 100% on board, and he was our banner sponsor for the year. I mean, he did more than what we really expected for us. And without that kind of support, in this sport, it's tough. But we had a lot of good support this year. A good client of mine and dear friends of mine, Phil and Melissa Town with Rule One Investing. They donated a $2,500 cash donation to us, and we used that and bought a shotgun and turned it into a $5,000, fundraiser. We raffled the shotgun off, a really nice Beretta shotgun. So that went a long ways, and she just, the other day when I was there, she just said that they were going to do it again this year. She said they'd be happy to do it every year. So that kind of, that's nice to have in your bank, somebody on your side.
Yeah, absolutely.
Going. And, like Bob, Johnson down there with B&B Tack, he made 4 saddles for us. That was very appreciative, and we had all kinds of sponsors, Patty Sanderson with the Shaps. We had all kinds of stuff that went in our favor. What's that, huh? Yeah, oh yeah. I was going to get to that in just a minute. And I don't know if you've seen the painting or not, Bill, that Leah Brigham painted for us of the winning.
Okay. Dog. I think I did at one point. I wonder.
It's one of the most beautiful field trial painting, dog paintings, portraits that I've seen. It looks exactly like that female that won it. And
great.
So we were really, really thankful to have her do that too. She's a phenomenal artist, but yeah, the field trial itself was a good stake. I mean, all the dogs had ample opportunity at game, and it was just fun meeting all these different people from different regions and stuff, that I hadn't seen. So
yeah, that's a big part of it, right? That's one of the best parts about the sport. So you had 12 dogs that started. How many called back?
There was 4 called back.
4. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yep. That's good. And all 3 days were 45 minutes.
Yep. All 3 days were 45 minutes. And then derbies kept getting stronger and stronger. I think we should have went hour for 3 days.
Yeah.
They were better on the last day than the first day.
Yeah. Good. Yeah. That's great. I guess I should ask one question. All 12 pointers this year?
Yes, they were. They were all 12 pointers. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. You need to get one.
Well, we got some, you setter guys. We got something to shoot for now. We got to try to get some setters in that mix. So that's good.
Yeah. Any breed.
Oh, absolutely. Yep.
They just got to go to the trials and one of the nominated trials for points, and go get some points and come join us. Yeah. This year coming up, we all agreed as a committee until the field trial world itself has shown us differently. We're going to move this thing around region to region each year. And that way everybody kind of gets an opportunity to be home. You know what I mean? Like this next year, April 16th, 17th, I think, is when it starts. It'll be at Grove Springs, Missouri.
Okay.
Jay Lewis. Yeah, we're going to have it at Grove Springs. I've never been to Grove Springs, so I'm looking forward to going up. And they're also going to have the Central Region Super Qualifier at Grove Springs earlier in the year. So hopefully if these couple derbies I have this year, I didn't have a derby last year, but this year we have a couple, and hopefully they're worth driving to Grove Springs so I can see that place and maybe get them qualified.
Yeah, that's super. So one thing I was able to come across here. I'm going to share it real quick. Just since you talked about it, we should get it up here. There's the painting you were talking about, that Leah had done of the winner? Can you see that on there?
Not yet. It's buffering.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it may on your iPad. It might, but that's a
Oh yeah,
that's a
there
great.
it is.
Yep. So that's a great job. Super job. All right, we're back. We'll get back to here.
Yeah, it
Get back.
is.
So
Wonderful job.
so the talk to me about. Let's go back to the super qualifiers. Is that what we were calling them, right? In each region, who sets those? Is that set by the committee as a whole, or is it set by the committee members in that region, or how does that work?
Well, see, that's the thing that's one thing that we're dealing with this spring. The super qualifier in the central region has already been set.
Okay.
I'm working with some guys right now. I reached out to John Ivester the other day up in the Region 3 area at Hoffman. Hoffman had that Hoffman field trial area, they had a really good, strong contingent of derbies last year. And I thought one way to kind of award them guys for having so many derbies in each stake would be to maybe hold the super qualifier at Hoffman.
Yeah.
So I talked to Whitley the other day, and I called John Ivester, and he was going to do some checking on some dates. And this is nowhere set. This has just been discussed. We would love to be able to hold that thing in conjunction with the Region 12H Championship. If it works out, I would love to be able to hold that right on the boot heels of that. Because then it's a championship, and you're going to get some quality handlers and some quality dogs in there, and they're probably just going to stay and run a derby. We're going to have some great prizes again this year. Nothing's going to change. It's just going to get better. We're just going to continue to work and build that up. What we really want to do, Bill, is we want to get these super qualifiers to the point where they'll stand on their own and not have to have it on the heat of a major trial. That's what we're gunning for. That's the goal for this organization, is to get these super qualifiers where they'll stand on their own.
Yeah, I think that, and I think they will. I think that's a kind of a quality trial that people will travel to, just for the Derby stick. The other thing that I think this is could really be a benefit is there's a lot of these AFTC regional amateur championships that do not run a Derby stake along with their championship, right? They don't have, in a lot of cases, they don't have time, and but if it was something that could be used as a points trial along with the Region 5 amateur all age championship, I think that we could see some upswing in some Derby stakes that way too.
Yeah. Like last year, I had it scheduled with David Williams, and we were going to hold the East Region Super Qualifier on the heels of the Region 6 at Carroll County at David Williams' crowd.
Sure.
There's very few places better to show an all-age dog, in my opinion, in the South. And then the morning I was leaving to go was when I had that horrific accident, my daughter and we totaled my truck. So that whole thing that just became a nightmare, became a blur, and we had to move the trial. But luckily, Guy Hendricks and Burke Hendricks, again, every time we turned around this first year, there was good people in this sport that reached out and helped us get through it. Guy and Burke said, "Man, come up here. We'll run it here." So we run it up there, on the end of one of their trials up there, and it ended up being a great deal. Our numbers were down because of the having to reschedule and whatnot. That kind of hurts any trial when you have to do that. But it was a quality stake, very quality stake. Jim Pendergast won it, and I rode every brace, and I actually judged it. Burke and I judged it, and they could have run that trial for 3 months, and they wouldn't have beat that performance of that Derby that day. And Jim knew it. Jim, when he went and picked that dog up, he was all ear to ear smile. Him and Matt both. They knew that that it was going to be awful tough to beat. And so it was a quality stake. Just the numbers weren't there. you know.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's great. That's great.
But
Well,
like I said,
I can know.
yeah,
I can only see this building, these steaks getting bigger and higher quality steaks all the time.
yeah, that's what we're hoping for. I mean, that's what we're hoping for. And, as we had all kinds of ideas, to begin with, and some of them got vetoed by the FTCA. They wouldn't let us do some things because of some gray areas, and I get it, so we just had to kind of regroup and do some other things. And, and that's like, I've had a lot of questions, Bill. I just want to try to, if I can, maybe clear up this. I've had a lot of phone calls from a lot of people asking about these nominations. Okay. These nominations have nothing to do with the dog. This is not a futurity. The nominations are field trial clubs. They have to nominate their Derby stake in order to have the points. Okay. That's all that is. I think people are a little confused on that when we called it nominating the trials. So once we got all the trials in, the deadline, now we have a list of field trials. We have a list of the field trial chairman from each trial, the date, and the contact information from the trial. Well, now we can have an interactive on our Facebook page, and we can update our points as we go. I can send Bill Holton a text on Sunday evening and say, Bill, how many derbies did you have and who placed? And I can just bang them out on the Facebook page, weekly. And I think that'll be a help too. We'll have an interactive calendar on our Facebook page for all set points. So click on there and just see whether there's going to be a points trial next week. When this whole thing first started kicking off, I called Piper Huffman. Bless her heart. I'm going to tell you, that lady, I had no idea what she had to go through. I called Piper up and I said, hey, Piper, I said, we're doing this invitational. And I said, I was wondering if I could get you to email me a list of your all-age invitational stakes. I said, because then I could go through those stakes and just see, if any of those had Derby stakes, and maybe we would just use the same list to make it easy, And Piper told me, she says, Quentin, I don't have a list. I said, come on. I said, really, Piper? I said, you got to have a list. I said, how are you going to keep track of these points? And that poor lady told me that she had to go through each issue of the American Field and look at the ads to see if they're advertised with all its invitational points. I was like, you got to be out of your mind. In this day and age, they got this lady going through all of these American Fields, page to page to page. I mean,
Yep.
you know how field trials are, their points. I mean, so I thought there's got to be a better way. There's got to be. I'm not going to go through every single ad to see if they have points, And that's when we come up with that. That we have a set bunch of trials year to year, and and then we'll be able to keep tabs of them a whole lot easier.
Yeah, no, it's just way better, way easier to manage. I guess that, I'll throw this out there right now, as the season goes on, the plan is on this page, once a week, probably a Sunday or Monday night, having a recap of what's happened in field trials the week before. And if anybody has, some of those points trials and they want to let me know what happened, it would be great for me. It'd be great for the community to be able to share that. And let people know that hey, this is a trial that happened, and if you send me that stuff, I'll talk about it. All we want is the same thing you guys would want, right? We want your dog's registered name and who the owners are, right? I have such a trouble sometimes trying to get those results. I get Spot got first, I don't know who got second, and Roscoe got third, and that one guy handled them. It's so. If someone gives us that information, we can get those dogs and those handlers the credit they deserve for going down the road. So if you come across them, Quentin, send them to me. If anybody else, if your field trial chairman have them, send them on. We'll share them.
Yep. Yeah, I'd be glad to do that. No problem at all. And as far as like this upcoming year, we don't really see any big changes, except for maybe we might have, a few more prizes or something that, quality prizes that people haven't heard about or something yet. We're constantly working on that,
Great.
you know, the money gets the professionals, and quality, nice prizes get your amateurs there to compete. And like last year, I think the biggest hit of the whole year was the engraved Henry rifles that we gave away. We gave
Oh,
away
sure.
I bought some really nice Henry rifles and had them laser engraved. And Rester won with Rester's Cajun Charlie, and then Mike Small won the other one for being the high dog in each region.
Okay.
And then the overall high point dog was also Mike Small, and his dog Small's Cut Bank, and that was a super nice silver platter that had been engraved, and it was the Jim Krause Memorial High Point Award.
Great.
We as a committee, we did, we all thought a lot of Jim Krause and what he's done for amateur field trailing, and it was just a little way of making sure that he was remembered each year, and Mike Small, he was pretty choked up when he won that award. Him and Jim were real close,
You bet.
and the first thing he did, they just got on the phone and called Jim's, wife and told her how proud he was to win this award and everything. And so no, it was kind of neat, to be able to give something like that back, and that'll be an annual award. And so, but yeah, it's going to be another good year. I think from what I hear, there should be a pretty good number of derbies this year.
Great.
And I mean, that figures the year that I'm going to have one, I mean,
Yeah. Well, that's when you want the good ones. Yeah. Yeah. So, what do you know when the first points trial is? What it is?
Gosh, where would it be? It'll be in that central region somewhere. I think it's going to be. I have to look at my list again. Like I said, we've been working on that, and it's just. I got it right here. Hold on one second, Bill. I got an email from Jay Lewis. He's always right on top of everything. That guy. September 25th and through the 28th, the Pony Express Club.
Pony Express.
Larry
Okay.
Smith. Yeah, up there at Gentry, Missouri. That'll be the first trial. That'll be the first points trial of the year.
Great.
Yeah, and then shortly after that, October 9th is the oil capital. Jason Reed's putting it on there in Oklahoma.
In Inola. Yeah.
Jason, Jason, he was a competitor last year at the Invitational. He brought a dog from out in Oklahoma, and
Okay.
first time I got to meet him and his buddy Kevin White, and like I say, they were great guys, and we appreciate them coming all that distance, to show us what they had, and I think they had a good time. I really do, and we even had a lady from Colorado show up last year, Tierra Hadley. She brought her dog all the way out from Colorado and competed. Again, I think she had a great time. We enjoyed meeting her, and it was everything was good. I just hope we can continue to build on it.
Yeah, it's a you guys got a good start. You got a good foundation. I think you got a good plan. Like we talked about getting handlers from all around the country. I saw before, I can't remember how many, but several states that were at the trial. I mean, there was people from all over the place there. So, I mean, obviously the most states we could cover would be 12, but there was probably dogs there from 8 states, so,
I think
it was
9. It was 9.
part 9. Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
12 dogs coming out of 9 states. I think that was a pretty good deal.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
But what was really kind of neat about it was those dogs from out west and those dogs from the central U.S. The big line type country and the big grass country and stuff. What was interesting was how those derbies could come to the Mid-South and compete. I mean, Rodney Shoemaker come down here and kick their tail. That dog of his, HP Rattler, the first two performances were just unbelievable. I mean, that dog did an outstanding job. You know, that dog had never been in country like this, a Derby. He come from, you know, that grassland country out there. And
Yeah.
he come down here and he did an outstanding job for Rodney. You know, Rodney ended up getting runner up. He did a great job. But that's what gets me is, you know, how these dogs can come from different areas of the United States and adapt. The good ones are going to adapt,
Right.
you know, and the ones that want to run off, they're going to run off. That's just all there is to it, you know.
They can do that
I mean,
anywhere.
but no, it absolutely they can. Yeah, yeah. So, but yeah, we're looking for a good year. We're looking to try to keep things a little more up to date week to week as far as points goes, you know. But then again, Bill, if you do the points tally too much, then you're going to have a lot of them maybe quit on you a little early. They got to make them think they're in there a little bit.
Right. Well, you know, that's the one thing though. I don't think, you know, because we're not seeing a lot of these, you know, I mean, we're not seeing 50 and 60 dog Derby stakes. When a guy, even if you're behind on points a little bit and you can win, you know, 2 or 3 trials or, you know, in February, all of a sudden, or, you know, before the cutoff, you're right in it. So I don't think, you know, I don't think keeping them updated is going to chase too many people away. It could, but it doesn't take a lot of trials probably to get yourself in it. So, you know, just keep running, man. Like Todd says, just keep opening the gate.
Keep opening the gate. That's right. He knows a little something about a Derby, don't he?
He does. Yeah. Yeah. You're lucky. We're all lucky he's not an amateur.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, that would be,
but yeah, it's hard to beat them that come out of that gate.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. Well, that's so the trial this year is going to be the Invitational this year will be at Grove Spring. Do you have a date set for that?
Yep.
And what's that?
Yeah,
Do you
April
remember?
16th.
Oh, great.
April 16th. Yep. Yep. It's going to be April 16th. And I'm looking at it here right now. April 16th is the start date for the Invitational. And where's it at here? I don't know where you're done with it now, but I was going to give you the date because he's already got the date set for the super qualifier, and I don't see it here now. I don't know where you're done with it. Oh, here it is.
What about
February 5th?
February 5th?
February 5th at Whetstone Bird Dog Club at Grove Springs. Jay Lewis is in there, and he'll be holding the super qualifier there at Grove Springs, February 5th through the 7th. Yep.
Super.
And we're still on One Eye East.
Okay. What about the cutoff, the date of the last trial that would be counted as a points trial? Do you have an idea when that is?
Yeah, it'll be April 5th, I think, is that weekend of April 5th. We just need like 10 days to get the coats made. You know, last year everybody got a really nice jacket, embroidered jacket.
Wow. What a quality steak.
Yeah, they were really nice. My wife got all that lined up, and she knew some people that knew some people, and was able to get that done quickly. I mean, them people got it done pretty quick, and so that's what we needed. We needed about 10 days to get the rifles engraved, to get the jackets all made. You know, once we knew who the qualifiers were, because really, Bill, the end of the points deadline, and then you got to have another deadline that you're going to commit. Are you going to come or not? You know.
Yep.
And once the date's committed, and then we just start going down the points list. You know, and like I say, last year we learned a lot, and so we can run it a little later this year because we're actually having it a little further north. You know, you can't run a trial down here mid-April in the Mid-South. It's just too hot, you know, you can't do that. So as long as it's up there, we can run it a little bit later. And who knows? I mean, this committee has talked about it numerous times. We may end up giving the Invitational a home somewhere. I don't know. It's just all going to depend on the general consensus of the field trial world and what they want. You know, people all of a sudden say, "Man, give this thing a home somewhere," so we know we're going every year. You know, But we like moving it around and give everybody an opportunity, you know. They ain't got to travel so far every year to win. You know, guys coming from Reno, Nevada, I mean, to go to Hoffman, I mean, that doesn't make that they're not going to do that.
No.
But they'll come to maybe, you know, Grove Spring or, you know, somewhere in Oklahoma or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But
no, that's great. Great idea. It's just the more we talk about it, the more obvious it is. It's a super quality event. It's only going to get better. You've done a great job getting sponsors on board, and if we can keep them around, that really helps, and building on it from there. So I think the idea of the shotgun raffle where you can end up taking a leverage on a donation and doubling it, so.
Well, to begin with, before the thing really even got off the boat, we were trying to come up with some funding, just to get this thing going. And Mitch Solt, a friend of ours, Mitch Solt, I don't know if you know Mitch or not.
Yes.
But he called me one night and he said, "Hey, Quentin, I really like what you're doing." He says, "You guys got a great idea." He says, I want to help out somehow, monetarily or whatever. So he donated a half a beef, cut, wrapped, and froze, shipped. And we raffled that beef off, and it went really well. It was a good fundraiser for us.
Great.
And Rachel Blackwell, Billy Blackwell's daughter, brand new mama yesterday. She won the half a beef. So yeah.
Okay, they come in handy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But
wow, that's awesome. So go ahead. What was that?
I said, we're just looking forward to this year, to get it bigger. So
yeah, that's great. Well, hopefully,
I think with the right kind of judges, you can keep people involved because, like I say, there's so many derbies that, there's so many of these judges are so hard on these derbies, these weekend stakes. I mean, and you take your typical amateur and he's proud of his dog. He works his butt off for his dog. But he goes to a weekend derby stake and some judge has a little bit of a quicker gun and they pick him up for a little bobble on his bird work, and then the next weekend, dog does a good job, has a little bobble, and they pick him up again. Well, next thing you know, that guy ain't coming no more, and by springtime, he may have the best in the country. You know what I mean? I have a different idea. Jay, myself, everybody, Todd, we all have a little different idea of these derbies, I think they're derbies. Like you said, these dogs need to be judged to potential. This is not a championship. These are not championships we're running. Let's give these dogs a chance to do, let's develop these dogs instead of just trying to, run them through the program too fast,
Yep.
And I think we have a lot of dogs wash out because of that.
Yep. I agree. I agree completely. I think you're right on the right track. So I look forward to seeing how this all shakes out, and I'm a fan. I look forward to to watching this develop not only this year but for years to come.
Yeah, it'd be fun, and like a good friend of mine, Keith Wright, always tells me, I ask him how his derbies look. He says, "Oh, Q," he says, "they're not running enough." He says, "But I'm not worried about that." He says, "They're looking good on their birds." He says, "They're finding a lot of birds and they're looking good on their birds." He said, he goes, "Hell, that run will come," and so many other people look at it differently, but it's just all, I guess, what you want out of your derby, but all I want is something that shows potential,
right.
And give me time to get him finished up, you know what I mean? But I think it'll help the derby stakes if people realize that these things need to be judged to a little different standard.
Yeah, no, I think it's great. I think in the opportunity to, to reward these dogs as the year goes on and reward these handlers for, putting the miles up and down the road and getting to, just a real super event. So, so let's go back a little bit. Let's talk about Quentin a little bit. How'd you get started in field trials? You said you weren't a field trialer in Montana, but they're obviously a bird hunter out there hunting prairie birds, and ended up
Yep,
down south.
uh, yep, I used to run German wire hair pointers. I was a wire hair guy, tried and true, because I did a lot of waterfowl hunting in eastern Montana and western North Dakota, and we hunted a lot of pheasants and a lot of sharp-tails, and we always foot hunted, which looking back now makes no sense, being born and raised on a ranch and having a horse under my legs 90% of the time. I was out there walking for these, but our dogs weren't broke. They were hunting dogs. I mean,
Yep.
they'd stand there all day until you birds. And then when I moved to Georgia in 2000, gosh, there was nothing to hunt. I mean, there was nothing to hunt down here. I mean, and that's when I started hearing about pen raised birds. I said, what is that? I never heard of such a thing. So we started going to some of these UFTA trials, National Bird Dog Challenge trials, got into NASTRA, and every different thing that we started going to, I kind of want more, and I wanted a little more for my dogs. And I got into pointers. I finally got a big running pointer, and we got into the walking horses a little bit. And next thing you know, we just started field trialing these horseback stakes, and gosh, my whole family loves it. I mean, I can't think of a better way to go spend a long weekend with my wife and 3 kids. They all got their own horses, and I mean, we got 16 head of horses here. I mean, are you kidding me? I mean, we all got, take your pick on who you want to take this weekend, but I mean, that's how we got into field trialing. And it's just a great sport. It really is a good sport. I mean, I think so many times people want to dwell on the stuff that doesn't need to be dwelled on. Let's dwell on the sport as a whole, and make it better.
Yeah.
That's how I got into it. That's how I got into field trialing, and some of the best friends I've ever had in my life I've made from field trialing.
Yeah. I think most of us would feel the same way. So did you have a few mentors when you first got started that brought you along and showed you the ropes and kind of helped get you hooked?
My brother was a professional for, I don't know, 8-10 years. He started off training, like AKC type horseback dogs, and he started running American Field All Age when I got my first pointer, Derby I had, that come from Terry Taylor and Sean Derrick. He was a bad river pup, and my brother and I had never seen nothing like it at the time. I mean, this thing would just scald the country, and he took him to the Montana Open Derby up there and got runner up there, and he went and he won a whole bunch of Derby stakes that year, and it just kind of got us cemented. I mean, they did a good job of hanging that carrot in front of us and got us involved, and then once you get involved, it's so hard to get back out of it. Like, as far as mentors go, I've had so many different people in this sport, give me advice and help me, and probably, like, right now, one guy that kind of goes out of his way to really, really help me is there's 2 guys really that I've got a lot of advice from on handling and dogs and how to break dogs and everything. Is a buddy of mine named Scott Jordan. Scott Jordan and I, in the wintertime, we talk or text basically daily. He loves to give me a hard time, and I don't really like him, but he got my phone number. So he's.
You can't shake him. I've tried for 25 years. You can't shake him.
No, you just can't. But the guy, we took a bunch of pups down there one weekend, and I'd never had nobody really show me how to start dogs, how to yard work them. And my wife and I went down one weekend with Scott, and he showed us his program. And those 4 derbies that I was talking about earlier, I broke them all. They were all, I mean, they were the best, dogs that I broke. I mean, because I took the time and did it the way, step to step to step through the yard working, and but other than that, gosh, a whole bunch of people. Mark McLean, I send my young dogs with Mark in the summertime to go up north rather than having them sit in the, in the kennel, and he does a wonderful job with them. He does a really good job with my young dogs. I've always been really, really happy when they come home in the fall. They're ready to go to work, and they've learned a lot in the summer. And now one of the guys that I have the utmost respect for, and we talk a lot about dogs and quality of dogs, and what he's pretty outspoken on what kind of a dog he does like is Billy Blackwell. Do you know Billy?
Yeah. No, I just by reputation. I've never met Billy.
Yeah. He's, and I tell you a quick story. The first time I ever met him, I judged the Alabama championship. Rich Heaton and I judged the Alabama championship a couple years ago. And I thought, just when you think you pretty much know everybody, I've judged some big championships in this sport, in the last 6, 7, 8 years. And just about when you think you know everybody in the sport, all of a sudden they throw a wrench at you. And Rich Heaton from out in Idaho, he flew in, him and Sampson flew in to judge this trial with me. And all of a sudden this guy brings this dog to the line, and I didn't recognize who the guy was. I recognized the dog. It was Coldwater Thunder, but I knew that Steve always ran the dog, but Steve was in the hospital, so he couldn't run the dog. So a quick story was, as he turned this dog loose, this Coldwater Thunder loose, then I have no idea who this man was at the time. And I mean, he had that big third hour bottom there at Hell Creek, and he had, I don't know, I think 3 fines, and he just threaded every one of those gaps way in the country with that ditch, Gosh, he stayed right in front of us. I mean, you had to look around the guy to see the dog, way in there. And the dog just absolutely hands down won the field trial, and he won the championship. And ever since then, him and I have kept in contact, and the guy has got such a knowledge of a bird dog, and he knows how to convey it. You know what I mean? He knows how to tell you what these all-age dogs are supposed to be, and so he's been a great mentor. Yeah, he really has.
Yeah, that's
and then,
great.
Of course, Ike Todd's one of my really good friends, and of course, you can always get a lot of knowledge from that guy, on these young dogs. He just tells you, just work them. He said, just keep working them. I mean, that's his answer to anything. Just work them.
Yep. Well, it's worked. Yeah. No, he knows how to work.
And Keith Wright is another one that's helped me out a bunch. As far as on some of these different dogs, on the nuances of field trialing. He's another one I don't generally answer the phone when I see it's him, because he likes to give me a hard time. But every once in a while I want to get a little information, I will answer it.
Yeah. No, that's great. Well, it's good to hear, Quentin. It's been great to talk to you. I'm gonna kind of throw this out there. Everybody keep spreading the word. Share this video out so other people get to see it. This has been a lot of fun. It's been informative. I think we're gonna see this Derby Invitational just grow through the years, and we're gonna kind of look back on this and go, geez, that was after it only been going for a year. Look how big it is now. So. And Quentin, hopefully we can get you back as the season goes on, or at the end of the season, to talk about the progression of the whole trial this year. So, any last words you got for us, Quentin?
No, I just want to thank everybody again for making this first year such a good success for us. I mean, it's people are still talking about that trial, and I mean, and when people are still talking about one trial this far later. I mean, I think we've done something right, and that committee we got together those guys are great, and they're there to help anybody that has any questions, so they can reach out to any one of them. And again, all of our sponsors, I mean, every one of them. It was an amazing first year, and we're looking for bigger and better things, Bill. So
super,
I appreciate it.
Well, hey, yep. Thanks for coming on. We're going to let everybody go tonight. We probably all got chores to do, and we're going to move on to the next thing. So, thanks for joining us. Everybody have a great night. Go work a dog.